Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Pavitropana Ekadashi Katha narration. Shri Yudhishthir Maharaj said, O Madhusudan, O killer of the Madhu demon, please be merciful to me and describe to me the Ekadashi that occurs during the light fortnight of the month of Shravan, July-August. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna replied, Yes, O King, I shall happily narrate its glories to you, or just by hearing about this sacred Ekadashi, one attains the merit of performing a horse sacrifice. At the dawn of Dwapar Yuga, there lived a king by the name of Mahijita, who ruled the kingdom of Mahishmati Puri. Because he had no son, his entire kingdom seemed utterly cheerless to him. He married. A married man who has no son gains no happiness in this life or next. The Sanskrit word for son is putra. Pu is the name of the particular hell, and tra means to deliver. Thus the word putra means at least one son and train him properly, then the father will be delivered from hellish conditions of life. But this injunction does not apply to the serious devotees of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, for the Lord becomes their son, father and mother. Furthermore, Chanakya Pandit says, Satyam Mata Pita Jnanam Dharmo Bhrata Daya Sakha Shanti Patni Kshama Putra Sadete Mama Mandhava. The truth is my mother, knowledge is my father, my occupational duty is my brother, kindness is my friend, tranquility is my wife, and forgiveness is my son. These 6 are my family members. Among the 26 leading qualities of a devotee of the Lord, forgiveness is the topmost. Therefore, devotees should make an extra endeavor to develop this quality. Here Chanakya says, forgiveness is my son, and thus a devotee of the Lord, even though he may be on the path of renunciation, may observe Putrada Ekadashi and pray to attain this kind of son. For a long time, this kind king tried very hard to obtain an heir, but to no avail. Seeing his years advancing ever onwards, King Mahijita became increasingly anxious. One day he told an assembly of his advisers, I have committed no sin in this life, and there is no ill-gotten wealth in my treasury. I have never usurped the offerings to the demigods or brahmanas. When I waged war and conquered kingdoms, I followed the rules and regulations of the military art, and I have protected my subjects as if they were my own children. I punished even my own relatives if they broke the law, and if my enemy was gentle and religious, I welcomed him. O twice-born souls, although I am a religious and faithful follower of the Vedic standards, still my home is without a son. Kindly tell me the reason for this. Hearing this, the king's Brahman advisors discussed the subject among themselves, and with the aim of benefiting the king, they visited various ashrams of the great sages. At last they came upon a sage who was austere, pure and self-satisfied, and who was strictly observing a vow of fasting. His senses were completely under control. He had conquered his anger, and he was expert at performing his occupational duty. Indeed, this great sage was expert in all the conclusions of the Vedas, and he had extended his lifespan to that of Lord Brahma himself. His name was Lomash Rishi, and he knew past, present, and future. After each kalpa passed, one hair would fall out of his body. One kalpa, or 12 hours of Lord Brahma, equals 4,320 million years. All the king's brahmanas advisors were happily approached him one by one to offer their humble obeisances. Captivated by this great soul king, Mahijit advisors offered obeisances to him and said very respectfully, Only because of our great fortune, O sage, have we been able to see you. Lomas Rishi saw them bowing down to him and replied, Kindly let me know why you have come here. Why are you praising me? I must do all I can to solve your problems, for sages like me have only one interest, to help others. Do not doubt this. Lomas Rishi had all good qualities because he was devotee of the Lord, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 18th chapter, verse 12. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunes tatra samaste surah harav abhaktasya kuto mahad guna manorarthenasti dhavato bahi. In one who has unflinching devotional service to Lord, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. However, he who has no devotion to Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications because he is engaged in mental concoction in material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. The king's representative said, "We have come to you, O exalted sage, to ask for your help in solving a very serious problem. O sage, you are like Lord Brahma. Indeed, there is no better sage in the entire world. Our king Mahijit is without a son, though he has sustained and protected us as if we were his sons. Seeing him so unhappy on account of being sonless, we have become very sad, O sage. Therefore, we have entered the forest to perform severe austerities. By our good fortune, we happened upon you. Everyone desires and activities become successful on just by your darshans. Therefore, we humbly ask you that you tell us how our kind king can obtain a son." Hearing their sincere plea, Lomas Rishi absorbed himself in deep meditation for a moment, and once understood the king's previous life, he said, "Your ruler was a merchant in his past life, and feeling his wealth insufficient, he committed sinful deeds. He traveled to many villages to trade his goods. Once at noon on the day after Ekadashi that comes during the light fortnight of the month of Jesht, the Trivikrama month as we call it in the Vaishnav calendar, May, June, he became thirsty while traveling from place to place. He came upon a beautiful pond on the outskirts of village, but just as he was able to drink at the pond, a cow arrived there with a newborn calf. These two creatures were also very thirsty because of the heat, but when the cow and calf started to drink, the merchant rudely shoved them aside and selfishly slaked his own thirst. This offense against the cow and her calf has resulted in your king being without a son now, but the good deeds he performed in his previous life have given him rulership over an undisturbed kingdom." Hearing this, the king's advisors replied, "O renowned Rishi, we have heard that the Vedas say one can nullify the effects of one's past sins by acquiring merit, so be kind to us and give us some instruction by which our king's sins can be destroyed. Please give him your mercy so that a prince will take birth in his family." Lomas Rishi said, "There is ekadashi called Putrada, which comes during the light fortnight of the month of Shravan. On this day, all of you, including your king, should fast and stay awake all night, strictly following the rules and regulations. Then you should give the king whatever merit you gain by this fast. If you follow these instructions of mine, he will surely be blessed with a fine son." All the king's advisors became very pleased to hear this from Lomas Rishi, and they offered him their obeisances. Their eyes lit up with happiness, and they returned home. When the month of Shravan came, the king's advisors remembered the advice of the Rishi, and they, under the direction of all the citizens of Mahismati Puri as well as the king, they fasted on Ekadashi. On next day, Dwadashi, the citizens dutifully offered their accrued merit to him. By the strength of his merit, the queen became pregnant and gave birth to a most beautiful son. O Yudhishthir, Lord Krishna concluded, the Ekadashi that comes during the light fortnight of the month of Shravan has thus rightfully become famous as Putrada, bestower of son. Whosoever desires happiness in this world and the next should always certainly fast from all grains and legumes, dals, etc. on this holy day, and beans. Indeed, whoever simply hears the glories of Putrada Ekadashi becomes completely free of all sins and is blessed with a good son and surely ascends to heaven after death. Thus ends the narration of the glories of Shravan Shukla Ekadashi or Putrada Ekadashi from the Bhavishya Puran. Priyam Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.